left off the hook in downtown Napa. The man who called it in confessed to a double murder, then just walked away. The San Francisco Bay Area in the late 1960s was a landscape of lovers' lanes and quiet parking lots, the kind of places teenagers went to be alone after dark. Lake Herman Road sat just inside the Berryessa city limits, a gravel runoff near a water pumping station where couples parked with some regularity. On the night of December 20, 1968, David Faraday, 17, and Betty Lou Jensen, 16, drove there after visiting one of Jensen's friends. Faraday attended Vallejo High School. Jensen went to Hogan High. They were spotted by passing motorists twice, once between 10:15 and 10:30 p.m., again at 11. Sometime between 11:05 and 11:10, someone pulled up roughly 10 feet from the passenger side of Faraday's car and opened fire. He shot at the car first, then walked toward the driver's side. Somehow neither teenager was hit in that opening volley. They scrambled for the passenger door. Jensen made it out. Faraday did not. He was shot in the head as he tried to follow her. The killer then ran down Jensen as she fled and fired 6 more times at her back. Only one shot missed. Police later estimated the entire attack lasted 2 or 3 minutes. A motorist found the bodies at 11:10. Jensen was already dead. Faraday died at the hospital. No tire tracks, no footprints, no witnesses to the shooting itself, just a madman, as investigators put it, with no discernible motive. 7 months passed. Then, shortly after midnight on July 4, 1969, Darlene Ferrin, 22, and Michael Mago, 19, pulled into the parking lot at Blue Rock Springs Park, 2 miles from where Faraday and Jensen died. Ferrin was married, out with Mago anyway, and the two had noticed a car following them since they'd left Mago's house. The trailing vehicle parked nearby, went dark, then peeled away, only to return 5 minutes later. This time the driver walked up to Mago's window with a flashlight. The couple, thinking he was a police officer, rolled the window down. He said nothing. He fired a 9mm pistol into the car, hit both of them, walked back to his own vehicle, did something neither victim could see, then returned and shot each of them twice more. A golf course caretaker heard the shots around 12:10 a.m. 3 teenagers found the couple and got help. Ferrin died at the hospital 20 minutes after police arrived. Mago survived long enough to describe a heavyset white man, about 5 feet 8 inches, with a large face and curly light brown hair. It wasn't enough to name a suspect. At 12:40 a.m., a call came into Vallejo police from a payphone 2 blocks from headquarters. A man reported the shooting, gave the correct location and caliber, and added 5 words that connected 2 crime scenes 7 months apart. "I also killed those kids last year." The August 1, 1969 letters changed the shape of the case entirely. 3 Bay Area newspapers, the Vallejo Times, the Chronicle, and the Examiner, each received a nearly identical letter, riddled with misspellings, claiming credit for both Lake Herman Road and Blue Rock Springs. Each letter enclosed a third of a 408-symbol cryptogram. The writer wanted it printed on the front page or he'd go on a killing spree over the following weekend. Vallejo Police Chief Jack Stiltz told reporters the department wasn't convinced the letter was authentic and asked for more proof. He got it 3 days later. On August 4, the Examiner received a letter opening with "This is the Zodiac speaking," the first use of the name that would follow the case for the next half-century. The letter answered Stiltz's challenge point by point, details about how Mago was shot, a mention of the golf course caretaker, the detail that the killer had taped a flashlight to his gun at Lake Herman Road to aim in the dark. He pointed investigators back to his cipher. "When they do crack it," he wrote, "they will have me." The Z for 08 cipher went to both the FBI and the CIA. Neither cracked it. A schoolteacher couple from Salinas, Donald and Betty Harden, did. Betty guessed the word kill would appear and worked backward from there. The decoded message described murder as more thrilling than sex, referenced the short story The Most Dangerous Game, and promised the killer would be reborn in paradise with his victims as slaves. It did not reveal his name. A psychiatrist at the California medical facility read the message and concluded the author felt omnipotent, someone likely to be a brooding and isolated, possibly compensating for some sense of inadequacy. At Lake Berryessa on September 27, the Zodiac appeared in person, in a black executioner's hood with clip-on sunglasses and a bib bearing his crosshair symbol, and told Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard he'd escaped from prison and needed their car. He tied them with pre-cut clothesline, then stabbed both of them, 6 wounds to Hartnell, 10 to Shepard. He wrote his symbol on their car door along with the dates of his previous attacks. Then he walked 500 yards to a road, leaving footprints, and drove 27 miles to a car wash in Napa, where he called the sheriff's department from a payphone to confess. He left the phone off the hook. A wet palm print was lifted from the receiver. It has never been matched to anyone. 2 weeks later, in San Francisco's Presidio Heights, cab driver Paul Stein was shot once in the head and robbed of his wallet and keys. 3 teenagers watched from a house across the street, close enough to see his face under the streetlight. Police officers responding to the call stopped a man walking near the scene minutes later. The Zodiac would later claim, in a letter, that he was that man, and that the officers let him walk away. The detail that keeps Zodiac researchers up at night isn't a piece of forensic evidence at all, it's a cipher that sat unsolved for 51 years. The Zodiac mailed the 340-character cryptogram Z340 to the Chronicle on November 8, 1969, demanding front-page placement. Professional cryptographers tried and failed. One cryptologist ranked it second in difficulty only to the Voynich manuscript. It became a kind of open wound in the case, a message from a man who claimed to have killed 7 people, sitting in plain sight, unread. It wasn't law enforcement that finally broke it. In December 2020, an American software engineer named David Aranchak, an Australian mathematician named Sam Blake, and a Belgian programmer named Jarl van Eyck, working together as amateurs, using a program Van Eyck built called Ace Decrypt, ran roughly 650,000 possible solutions until one produced a coherent key. The decoded message denied that the Zodiac was Sam, the mental patient who'd hijacked a television interview and pretended to be him back in 1969. It repeated his claim that death held no fear for him, that he already had enough slaves waiting in paradise. The FBI verified the decryption. It confirmed nothing about who he was. 2 other ciphers remain unsolved to this day, the 13-character Z13, sent in April 1970 with the line "My name is," and the 32-character Z32, which the Zodiac claimed marked the location of a buried bomb that has never been found. Proposed solutions for Z13 range from Alfred E. Newman, the Mad magazine mascot, to Dr. Eater Torpedo, a phrase one researcher believes was aimed as an insult at the president of the American Cryptogram Association, who'd publicly dared the Zodiac to reveal his name. With ciphers this short, cryptologist David Aranchak has said, it's nearly impossible to prove any solution correct. Laid on top of the ciphers is the map. In a June 1970 letter, the Zodiac enclosed a Bay Area road map with a modified crosshair symbol drawn over Mount Diablo, its points labeled in radians rather than compass directions, alongside Z32. He said it would lead to a bomb. In 1981, a researcher named Gareth Penn divided the map according to the Zodiac's own instructions and found that 3 of the attack sites, Blue Rock Springs, Lake Herman Road, and the site of Paul Stein's murder, appeared to align along a single radian extending from that mountain. No bomb was ever found there. Whether the alignment means anything, or whether it's the kind of pattern a determined mind can find in almost any set of points on a map, has never been settled. The letters continued sporadically until January 29, 1974, when the Zodiac wrote to the Chronicle praising The Exorcist and closing with a scoreline, Me equals 37, SFPD equals 0. He never contacted the press again under confirmed authorship, though letters of disputed origin kept surfacing for decades, one in 1990, mailed from Eureka, with a Christmas card and a photocopy of 2 post office keys, its handwriting close enough to the Zodiac's to unsettle researchers even after a forensic examiner judged it inauthentic. Only one man was ever named a suspect by police, Arthur Lee Allen, a former elementary school teacher and convicted sex offender who denied involvement until his death in 1992. Detective Dave Toskai, who spent years on the case and eventually filled 8 filing cabinets with suspects, said in 2010 that everything gathered against Allen turned out to be negative. A 2002 DNA test on saliva from one of the Zodiac's envelope stamps did not match Allen, though researcher Tom Voigt has questioned whether the sample was reliable. The San Francisco Police Department marked the case inactive in 2004, citing caseload pressure, then reopened it in 2006. The FBI, the California Department of Justice, the City of Vallejo, and the Napa and Solano County Sheriff still list it as open. In 2018, Vallejo police tried genetic genealogy through GED match. They got no definitive answer. The palm print from that Napa payphone is still, as far as the public record shows, unmatched, a print left by a man who wanted to be heard confessing, then made certain he could not be found.